This is a bit of a mixed post, but on one hand, I have a Reddit post that I want to respond to. Turned 20 today. Give me all the, give me all time best advice that you would have known before entering 20s. And at the same time, there's a Discord channel question that I'm keeping answering in the past few days, and the answers to these kind of go hand in hand. And the question from Discord that I'm trying to answer today is, how do I know the life that I want to live? Like, okay, so other people seem to be living this like life that they want to live, but for me, one thing is me not engaging in bad habits, but at the same time, when I remove the bad habits, I'm presented with a life that is more or less vacant. It's empty. So, in that place, what do I need to be doing to make that to fill that void so that I do good things? I need to know how to fill that time in, right? And the answer is something I'm really calling these days daring to suck, but in term more in line with the 20s. Before entering 20s, the best thing to know is try everything, right? This is a Disney song, but I really think trying a lot of different things is very important. So when I was in the so now I'll explain my personal anecdote kind of a thing first, and then I will explain the Buddhist principle kind of a thing. When I was in the San Francisco Bay Area, I was always unsatisfied with my job, right? I worked at Apple, I worked at, a startup called Foursquare, the location intelligence company, and then I was, throughout the time, I had been staying in the company because I was always interviewing, I was always looking for new jobs because I just was never satisfied, right? And, um, and eventually I got kind of tired of the grind of the San Francisco Bay Area, and then I wanted to, move back to somewhere where it's not so technology oriented. And at the time, I saw, what other options are there for me, and I just really remember looking at all these places, and I was thinking about Southern California where I grew up, and then I saw this job posting from Disney, and the job was exactly what I was doing at the job at the time. So I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And then I, like applied for the position, right? And then the really important thing is, in the past, right? I've been trying to get out of my positions for such a long time. I did so many different interviews, and I did read so many different interview preparation books, and I spent so much time doing all of those things. At the time in the Bay Area, I never really got the results that I wanted, right? I really, of course, I got a nice career in the positions that I was in, but I always wanted to keep advancing, but then those opportunities always seem to run away from me. And now, many months down the line, I got the interview at opportunity at Disney, and then interviewed, and then I got the job. I learned about it the next day, right? So at that moment, I truly felt like, wow, going out to a lot of interviews. I went to so many interviews. I was kind of desensitized by the experience of interviews by the time I went to Disney, and I think that was really helpful, right? Because I was just so not stressed. I was just there to experience the interview. I was just there with very low expectations, and I was very technically, adept because I spent so much time prepping for interviews, and it was put to the test in a real time interview where I was in a stressful kind of environment like whiteboard coding, right? I hate that experience. But anyway, trying everything really made the built that muscle memory in. So the really important interview of my life, my interview with Disney, I got the position, right? So that feels good. So on one hand, it's like my from my personal life, doing everything eventually turned out to be good, although it doesn't feel good at the time. But now this is where the Buddhist concepts sort of come in. I can't get a job unless I apply for it. Right? So that doesn't mean whenever I apply to a job, I'm automatically guaranteed to go in. It's people like to associate a one-to-one relationship with this thing, but it's more like, in order for something to happen, there is a prerequisite for it. But just because the prerequisite is met, it doesn't mean the results is guaranteed. Again, when a result happens, the preconditions for that result have to be there, right? So, in your 20s, in your early 20s, you don't really know what you want in your life. Same with you may be older than your early 20s, but then you don't know what you want in your life. But the thing is, the more you stop doing things and the more you start contemplating and ruminating, and the common reasons for doing this is because you're afraid to fail. You're afraid to make mistakes. You're afraid of seeing yourself suck and judging yourself. You're afraid of being bad at something because it makes you feel horrible, right? So this is why you have to dare to suck, because if you keep stopping yourself because of all those reasons, you never get the chance to actualize into something that you might actually want. So, you don't know if you're gonna enjoy rock climbing or not unless you actually try it. You can research it and all you want, but then nothing is going to be like the same as actually climbing the rock, right? Same with surfing. Same with jiu-jitsu, same with trying to go take the LSATs and go to law school, same with trying to go to art school, same with trying to, play the guitar and all those things. You may not enjoy the outcome. It may not be all that good as you expected, but at the same time, it may be a lot better than you expected. And moreover, maybe you didn't enjoy the rock climbing itself, but you enjoyed the community. So now you're gonna look at some kind of a community activity instead of an individual activity, right? Or maybe you go to jiu-jitsu, but you find jiu-jitsu pretty fun and interesting, but you find that there's a higher risk of injury and you don't really feel good about that. Good, then you can go to a more kind of a controlled martial arts like Krav Maga, and where you don't have to spar like 100% with another person, right? And these things, whatever you try, they will always supply you some more information to get you to your next step. But many people just try it, don't like it, and stop. That's not the point, right? You learned that you don't like this something, which is good. So you know how to avoid it next time. You know what kind of things to not try next. That is equally valuable, or I think sometimes more important than knowing what you do like. So, how do you increase the chances of knowing what your life wants to look like? You just have to try a lot of things. But you have to look at the big picture, because if you look at I better like this and then do it and then I hate it, I better like this and then you do it and you hate it, I better like this and you do it and you hate it, by after 3 attempts you're gonna burn out and you're not gonna want to do other things. But the thing is, regardless of what you do, you're not gonna get in 3 tries, right? You need to look at your growth and you need to look at the span of your life from a longer lens. So, you think that, after solving 3 problems on your quiz, you're like, oh, I did so much. But the quiz has like more, like 10 questions, right? But what I'm trying to say is this. After 1 problem, you may feel like you spent so much time. After 2 problems, you may feel like that was such a long test. After 3, you may feel like you solved so many problems. But regardless of how you feel about these numbers, the number is just the number, right? So, suppose you have 5 things to do today. 5 things to do in the span of 24 hours is not that much, right? And suppose I'll back off a little bit, and suppose it's like chores that take 1 hour maximum. You have 5 hours in your day, right? But It doesn't matter if you feel overwhelmed by it. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to say your feeling doesn't matter. It does. It is important to understand why you feel overwhelmed at a, to-do list. But more importantly, regardless of how I feel, the items are possible to do. I'm trying to get you to understand and recognize your feeling and at the same time look beyond it. Because the feelings are not the only indicator of what needs to happen in your life. You need to be able to anticipate your feeling and look beyond it to see some portions of your life that goes beyond your initial knee-jerk reactions, because otherwise your life just gets defined by initial impulses to things, and you then in that case you're just like a single cell organism reacting to like electrical pulses, right? Your life is more capable than that, and I want you to lean into that. Acknowledge your feeling. I'm feeling this way. Okay, I get that. But at the same time, just because I feel like something, it doesn't mean it's actually something. When I see a cockroach, I feel like my life is threatened, but it doesn't mean that my life is being threatened by the cockroach, right? So understand that the feeling is real and legitimate, but you have to understand, you have to look beyond that feeling if you want to do anything deeper in your life. And that is my advice to people who don't know how to live their life, and that is my advice to the people who are about to be 20 years old.